Great. There you go. All right. So, Elias, why are we here today?
Yeah, so we're here to do a demo, so to present the AI assistant, basically how we use AI at OpenFn to help build better automation tools in the platform.
Fantastic. Thank you. Just a little bit of information about OpenFn. So first, OpenFn is currently the leading digital public good for workflow automation and data integration. But just to explain what digital public goods are for folks who may not be familiar with DPGs. So digital public goods are a set of softwares or digital tools, toolkits, and solutions that have been built by, organizations and individuals around the world and are being used to support, governments and just non-profit efforts and social causes globally. So they are oftentimes open source, and they have, they have a set of criteria that allows you to be fit as a digital public good in terms of maturity, in terms of adoption, and a few other factors like that. But for us, every year we run over 8 million workflows, and we work with governments and organizations in about 40 plus countries around the world to be able to use our software to, connect different tools and automate some part of their programs or their workflow as much as possible. Just below this slide, you can see some of the organizations that have used OpenFn over the last few years. We've been around for about 10 years now, and we have a team that's everywhere around the world. I think about 14 countries. We're also a very small team. Some of us are based in the UK, some of us are based in Africa, some in the US, somewhere in Europe. But again, we work remotely. We have a growing community as well of users all around the world as well that use OpenFn and also advocate for OpenFn to be used for workflow automation or connecting different tools and systems within the organization as much as possible. I'm very happy to answer questions about OpenFn after now. But yeah, we'll just go into the crux of this. So yes, let's talk a little bit about your experience as a software engineer in OpenFn, and also supporting other developers in organizations to be able to write code. What's the big parts in that learning curve for you and from your experience?
Yeah, great. It's a great question, actually. OpenFn, we are trying to build tools that are really close to most of developers. And part of this, we took the decision to build our tools using JavaScript. So the OpenFn DSL, which is the language that we proposed people to use to build their automation tools, is based on JavaScript, but also it's some sort of OpenFn own source to be able to build better tools. The problem with that is people usually are not very familiar with the technology, and they have to learn it. And usually when people come to OpenFn, they have a problem they want to solve, and it's mostly very urgent. And then some learning curves may be big blockers to that. So basically what we're doing today is we introduced end of 2024, beginning of 2025, this OpenFn AI Assistant. So we're basically leveraging AI into the platform to allow people to have an assistant right next to where they build their automation tools to help them, guide them, and help them build tools easier. So we're really trying to reduce that learning curve for users so that they can really solve their problems easier.
Fantastic. So, I mean, I've been able to just identify some of the very common use cases or kind of questions I'd imagine. But I think just to summarize Elias's point, the big deals for the assistant today and the key things you can really trust the assistant to help you with today. First is actually to be able to suggest a job code for you. So when we talk about job code, we are talking about the code that helps you automate your work. The JavaScript DSL, OpenFn DSL. Now it can help you suggest what that code would look like. It can also help you debug your code, can give you suggestions. So think about it as an OpenFn support staff that is working with you from time to time to say, oh, you might actually want to look at this, change this and change that. And then also is also if you can copy, for instance, your own logs, and we'll show some of this during the course of this call. You copy some of your own logs and you paste it in there in your assistant. It can also tell you what's possibly wrong and why you're getting that error. And then last thing is also you can answer questions that are related to OpenFn. So you can ask you questions about an adapter. You can ask a question about like a function, and a few other things like that. And we'll try to like just show some of these, during the course of this demo. And second thing, Elias, just to talk about like, our responsible AI policy. And what does it, when you think about like responsible AI or safe and responsible AI policy, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, at OpenFn, we really trying to take AI and all of this revolution around it in a very human way, if I can use that expression. We developed what we call the OpenFn Responsible AI Policy. Basically, it's a set of guidelines and standards that we try first to put ourselves into using very rigorously, but also proposing to the community to get inspired by this policy. Mainly, as you see in that slide there, it's mainly around 4 topics. It's around accountability, transparency, humanity, and skepticism, but really not cynicism. Ayo, can you really quickly just develop into these 4 points?
Right. Yeah, I think for us, it is the fact that globally, there's a lot of adoption for AI right now. And I think that's amazing to see. But whilst there's a lot of optimism and adoption for AI, we also understand that we're building these tools for humans, and we have to be very responsible in terms of how and when we use AI and what contexts we're bringing AI into our relationships and our work from time to time. And in terms of accountability, the goal is actually that we are responsible for how we use AI, right? And AI is not responsible for its outputs. It's pretty much a set of models that don't think as humans do, and most times does not have as much context as we have. So we need to actually be accountable for the outputs and the outcome of the outputs of these AI models, pretty much. And then second is actually like transparency. We want a world where people can actually disclose and say, yes, I used AI to do this, right? And I think that level of transparency is something that is essential. We think about a lot of these policies and these guidelines in terms of how we're also building, AI into OpenFn. Then third is actually humanity. Like I said, so it's a tool that is made by humans for humans. So at the core of all of that is actually thinking first about humanity and thinking that what could be the adverse effect of the solution. Or on the other hand as well is actually making sure that we're doing it for the greater good. And I think a very good example of that in OpenFn is how we currently apply AI. So we say we're using AI first at build time, not at runtime. So would you use AI to actually think about how you build your workflow? But, and at that level, you have a lot of control, right? Versus you running AI, without being able to check what the output is, and you can't predict what the output is, right? So that's the concept of like humanity. And then last is actually skepticism, which is we want to make sure that we understand that AIs can make mistake, right? So we cannot just take the answers or the responses verbatim and then just run with it. We want to make sure that we can look at it. We want to check it and review it and make sure that it's actually right. And that's actually just maintaining a healthy relationship between, ourselves and the way in which we actually use AI as much as possible. I mean, there's a lot more information about it on our website, OpenFn.org/AI. We've got like a summary of, of how we think about AI and also the full policy, and you can take some bit of time to actually read it in your leisure time. So I think that's it. We're in the fun part of of the demo. So Elias, you want to share your screen and then we can just kick in. But then also, before we do that, if you do have a question, please feel free to, just drop it as a message. Or alternatively, you can raise up your hand and then afterwards we'd actually be able to answer it. But if you drop it as a message, we can answer it whilst we're doing the demo. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Ayo.
Great.
I'm going to share my screen now.
Yes.
So guys, let me know if you see my screen. Ayo, can you see my screen? Yeah, cool.
Yes,
great.
Thank you, Joseph.
Great. Cool. All right, so we're going to demo the OpenFn AI Assistant. What you see here is a workflow, typical workflow at OpenFn. This one is a really short one. but it's very interesting. It's a workflow that's taking data from listening to data coming from Kobo Toolbox or probably any other external app that we use in the ITC for the world. And it's going to process the data and send it to a Google Sheet that we're going to connect it with.
So,
as you can see, yep.
Yes, I was just going to say, so technically what we're saying here is I can use OpenFunction to connect any data collection to say another application, like either my database or like even like a spreadsheet like Google Sheets. Is that right?
Yeah, and what's interesting here is it is listening to your data tool. Basically, it's not a pull from the data, but you just configure what we call the webhook trigger. It's going to give you a an accessible URL here that you can put into your application, and then your application can share the data with OpenFunction. And this URL is protected behind some security protocols or behind API tokens and all of that. But yeah, basically to guarantee security and a little bit of authentication. So in this workflow, that's what we're doing here. We are connecting this with a Kobo Toolbox form. And I think I will share a form, a link to submit data. Or I don't know if you did do that.
Yeah, I'll do that afterwards. So just to say, whenever anybody submits data to the Kobo toolbox form, that data, this workflow is going to run, and then it's going to send that submission into Google Sheet, correct?
Yeah, but we need to build that now.
Right. So tell me, how do we build it? Yeah,
exactly. Cool. So how we build it? So this node here is a node that's receiving the event and then passing it to this node. So most of our time we're going to pass it on this node. And as you can see, what we are going to do is we're going to expand the node. And then when we expand it, we have some code here and stuff, but I'm going to just quickly delete this code and show you what it looks like. When you arrive, this is what it looks like. You have your code editor here. It's a visual editor where you can type some code. You have in the left side what we call the input pane. It's where basically you can see your data or the input data that you pass to your job. And in the right side, you have the output pane where you can see the logs of your job code, the input, the output, and the status of the run. So we'll see all of this. So for now, we're going to make code here that I want to test. And this code looks like it's going to do it. So I've just pasted here. And this code is going basically to append the values that are coming from state and trigger the event from Kobo. We want to test it here manually to see whether it does the job or not before testing it in Kobo.
Here, but just before we do that,
input.
Yes. So I think just to confirm, I think we're having connection issues with Elias. I just dropped him a message now.
Sorry.
Hey, Elias.
Can you guys
your connection sort of like, yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Your connection went off for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So
yeah,
can
I
you
was
guys hear me now, question?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I was going to ask you a question about this code that you have here. I am new to OpenFn. I don't know what append values mean. How do you get this, and where can I find this within OpenFn?
Great. That's a really great question. So this is basically what I was talking about. At OpenFunction, we kind of have our own programming language based on JavaScript. And these functions, they're coming from what we call the adapter. So if you see here, basically here, this node is a Google Sheet adapter. So the Google Sheet adapter has many utility functions, and these functions, they are really shortcuts that OpenFunction built that allow you just to give them some parameters, and then they will do the job for you. So basically, this append values function is a function that knows how to find a spreadsheet in your Google Drive and append some values that you give it into that spreadsheet. So that you don't have to write all of that logic that does that. All you have to do is give it the values and the ID of the spreadsheet you want to append to. If you want to learn more about these functions, you go to the docs.openfn.org, and you look for the name of the adapter that you want to, the system that you want to connect to, whether it's Kobo Toolbox or Google Sheets or Salesforce, and then you will find all of these functions that you can use into the OpenFunction platform and how they work, and then their different variants. But also, this is where the OpenFn AI Assistant comes to, because it's gonna help you know exactly how you can use these functions to do your work very easily.
Fantastic. Just us to just chime in there. You can also click on docs. I'm not sure if you can click on docs there. Yeah, you can open that panel, and this will show you the list of, it will show you the list of, functions that are available within OpenFN, right, that you can use to actually manipulate. So you see that the same function for append value is very similar to what you have there. And you can easily click on it and then click on add, right, or copy and paste easily. So that's really one of the very interesting ways in which you can actually do that. Okay, fantastic. So Shadrach, does that answer your question, please? Just making sure. Great. So we can, fantastic. So we can move on. So yeah, now we have this code, what does it do?
Yeah, so this code, we're expecting it to write this data that we see here into this spreadsheet. And I want to run it. As I said, this is, yeah.
So when you say this spreadsheet, that's line 2. What is 1CFK? I've never created a spreadsheet with that name before. So what's that?
Great question. This is the ID of your spreadsheet. If you go to the spreadsheet, maybe I should just show you what the spreadsheet looks like. Go here. Basically in the URL, I think I'm sharing this one tab. Let me share my own screen so that. Yep. Do you guys see my screen now?
Yes, I can see.
So if you go to this spreadsheet, and if you look at the URL, I don't know if it's very clear, but it's usually the value that you have after the /d. This value here is the ID of your spreadsheet.
Fantastic.
Okay, so you need this ID so that OpenFunction knows where your spreadsheet lives and be able to write the data there.
So then I set my range. So the range is actually the sheets, the columns in my spreadsheet, correct?
Exactly. The range is basically where you want to start and where you want to end.
Fantastic.
The different columns.
Great.
And then the values. And the values are every row is represented by an array in JavaScript. So it's just a set of values, but every row is this set, and they should be the exact number of the difference between these two, the number of columns that you have there defined in your range.
Right. Another question that I have, just to make sure everybody understands what this looks like. I have state.data.grievance on line 5. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's great. Maybe we should ask that to the AI assistant, though.
Okay.
Should we do that?
We should get started there.
Okay,
right.
Let's
this is the AI assistant, right?
Yeah.
Great.
So this is the AI assistant. So in the left pane, you have two main components. You have the input component, which is where you're going to choose your input data to pass to this step and then run it with that data. And you have the AI assistant. So basically, when you open the AI assistant, you have what we call the AI assistant sessions, which are all the different discussions you had with the AI assistant. They're logged in here. So we're going to create our new session. We're going to use this input here to ask the question that Ayo did raise. So I'm going to say, hey, what does state of data mean in this code? And to send it, you click on this button, or you do command enter or control enter on your keyboard. So, and then you send it, and then the AI will receive that message with your code. So the AI basically works is it takes your job code, combine it with your query, and analyze it and give you an answer. So it says, in OpenFn jobs, state.data typically refers to the current data payload that is being processed by the job. Specifically, state is an object that represents the current state of the job execution. Data is a property of the state object that contains the input data for the current operation. So basically, it says these state.data, the grievance date and name recorder are accessing specific fields from the input data. This suggests that the job is expecting input data with properties called the grievance date and name recorder. So basically, very great response, I think. Ayo, what do you think about this response?
No, I mean, this, given that this is actually off script, I think it's actually amazing to see that he actually gave a good response. But what happens in a case where I actually give a bad response? What do I do?
Oh yeah, if you are not satisfied with the response, I am really satisfied with the response. But if you are not, you can flag this answer. You can report and say, "Hey guys, this response was not really satisfying me." And by you click after every response of the AI assistant, we have this little button here called "Flag this answer" that you can click on. And when you click it, it opens this pop-up here, and you can basically flag the response. Say whether it's an incorrect answer, irrelevant, choose something. Well, I'm not going to choose because I'm really satisfied with this response. But maybe before the end of this demo, the AI will just show something that we're not satisfied with.
Fantastic, thank you. So yeah, I think then we can continue.
Awesome. So yeah, so AI helped us here to know now what is state of data. So from the response of the AI, it seems like we need to give it some input. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of these inputs here, and I'm going to run my job now. I want to click here on create new work order. And then we're going to wait a little bit, see the response. Oh, it failed. Cool. This is great. This means like we have more opportunities to use our AI assistant now. It failed. I look at these text here. It's a lot of text. I am really frustrated. I don't know what this means. So I just want to ask the AI assistant help. What I'm going to do, I'm going to say, hey, what is this error? And now I'm going to use Command Enter, the shortcut, to send the message. And I really hope it helps me say, I apologize, but you haven't provided any specific error. Oh, interesting. So it seems like our AI assistant cannot see the logs here, which is really interesting. This is not a bug, it's a feature. We don't want to share the logs of your job code to the AI assistant because usually it can contain some sensitive data, which can be, for example, this date or this name, and we don't want to send that to the AI. So basically, if you have errors like that, you should copy if the parts that you think you can share with the AI, you copy them, what we suggest, and you paste it here. And I can say, oh, here is the error. And I can send this. Wait a little bit.
Just whilst waiting, can I also copy the entire log and paste? Is that possible?
Yeah, you can copy the entire log and paste. But as I said, make sure that your log doesn't contain any sensitive data before you copy the different parts.
Great. And then also just looking at your line 17 in your logs. So it's showing me the message of that error. So for every error that I get, OpenFn tells me, what that error looks like, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, we are really, our logs are very verbose, as you can see. We're trying to give you as much information as possible, help you know what the job is doing and what's the problem in case there's a problem.
Fantastic, thank you. So yeah, here I response. It's giving us a response now. So what did it say?
So basically it says, it indicates that the job doesn't have the necessary authentication credential to access the membership. Oh, okay. I know that this is an open function job, so it seems like there is a crucial step that I forgot to do, which is authenticating this code to access my Google Sheet. And to do that, we need to use credentials. Ayo, did you want to say something?
No, I would just ask, how do I do that, and where do I create credentials?
Oh yeah, good question. I really want to use the AI extensively. Let me try to see if the AI can help us. Oh, thanks. How can I create and maybe use a credential? And let's wait and see what the AI proposes.
Just whilst waiting, there are two questions. Mamadou, so yes, this is currently on app.openfn.org, but we'll also talk a little bit about how you can use the AI feature on its self-hosted environment afterwards as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
All right, great. So we got the response.
Great.
Basically, it's doing really it's really a good response. Basically, it's giving us two different parts of where this problem can come from. Whether it's from Google, where you need to have all the authentication needed from Google, but because when you're using app.openfn.org, you don't need to do this part. So the part that's interesting us is this part. It says in OpenFN, you go to credential section, you click new credential, you select Google Sheet. It knows that this is a Google Sheet step. So it really guides you there, and then you enter the name of your credential, you do all of these steps. So it guides you on how you can create a credential and use this credential. So to go fast, we have already a working credential that I'm going to use here. So I'm going to click here and link this credential, which we already prepared. And I'm going to save. And I'm going to expand again. Okay, you see this is the session. So now I already done that. I'm going to now run again. I think I need to, select my input. And then I'm going to run this job again. And let's see. Oh, cool. We still have another error. But this time we have another type of error. If you read here in the log, it says the API returned a request entity was not found, etc. So let me see. What?
What does that error mean? Sorry.
I don't know. Let's ask our friend. Let's ask the AI assistant. So I want to copy this part and say, let's say this. I'm going to the AI assistant. Say, cool. I have a booking credential now, but I still have this error. Do this. And let's see if it can understand what this error is and suggest us a solution. All right, it says this error is different from the previous one, which is great. So it says like the request entity was not found. Cisco suggests that the spreadsheet you're trying to access does not exist. And it's basically related to our ID. And this is great. This is on purpose. The right spreadsheet ID is this one. You see, if you look at this ID here, it's different. It's ending with TO, and here our ID is ending with TBCHK. So I need to pass it the right ID. I'm gonna copy the right ID here, paste it here, and then I'm gonna run again this job. And let's see. Yay, it worked. This is great. I muted.
Yeah, I was like, just fantastic. I'm happy it worked.
Cool.
So first, we've been able to use our AI assistant to actually debug, our errors, and it can tell us what was wrong and point us in the right direction. Correct.
Yeah. That's what we did here. And I just want to check whether the data have been written in the spreadsheet. And as you can see here, the data is written in the spreadsheet.
This is great.
This is great.
Right. So, but now, if we look back, it seems that we have specific fields that we actually want to get, and we're sending wrong data right now.
Yeah. So if now what we want to do is we want to look at our input data, and then we want to give it a prompt that will help us retrieve some specific data here. If you look at the spreadsheet, we want the grievance data, the category complainant, grievance description, the report, the complainant name, the recorder name, and the stakeholders responsible. So we want this data. So we want the AI assistant to help us map the right data coming from this input data to that spreadsheet. So I'm going to use the AI assistant, and I'm going to give it, I'm going to go here into the output, and I'm going to give it this data. Let me see if I can give it this data and say, all right, it now worked. What I want is you take um, this data. I mean, you help map write the following properties to the spreadsheet. I want to say properties, or and I want, what do I want? I want this one. I want the grievance date. I want the, I don't know if I want the category complainant.
Yeah, we have the
That,
category, we have the complainant, the report format, and name of
yeah,
record, as well as stakeholders responsible.
yeah, I want to say recorder.
And just also say, if you're whilst Elias is doing that, if you are, if you want it to map, please make sure that the data you're sending or you're passing in does not have, it's probably like a, is a demo data, or you're not passing, personally identifiable information or any sensitive business data, right? And again, that goes back to like our AI policies that we mentioned earlier. But as much as possible, make sure that, you can scrub out any information that is, that's attached to like a person or a business, and that can be very, very sensitive as much as possible. So our best approach here is actually to first of all scrub out that data. But for the purpose of this demo, we can actually use, this data.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ayo. So I have written my prompt, and I want to see if it can get these properties in the data here and help me write a job that's going to put the right data properties, the right data values in that spreadsheet. So I'm going to send this prompt. Let's wait and see. All right. This is surprising. I hope
Yeah.
it's using the references because I gave it that part of the data.
Yep. So you might probably just want to like clean it up
Yeah.
and use just the part of the data that you need.
Yeah, this is really interesting because the reason is like when you give it the data, you basically have to, it just looks in the references and find the right properties we're looking for, and it is mapping them directly from there. But if I have this, I'm just going to now replace the references with state.data because I know that state.data, we learned earlier with the AI assistant that state.data is where our data lives. I'm going to still copy this. It's really interesting. And I'm going to paste it here because I don't want to lose this information. Replace this with the right here, and then the range also with the right range. And what I'm going to do is now, instead of state.references, I'm going to do state.data. And I will now remove this job code and use this one. And I'm going to try with this one. I'm going to hit Command Enter to run this job.
So whilst that is running, I mean, this is also showing that the output you get sometimes is also dependent on the input that you give. So depending on how good your input and how you're very good at prompting, that can also determine the quality of response you'd also get. But yeah, congratulations, this worked again.
Yeah,
so
it worked.
let's check.
Let's see. Yeah, it took this one. Now you see, instead of having a 2 here, we have now this.
Fantastic.
And this is interesting because here it doesn't do the right order. You have to order your values. I'm putting, I think, the values in a different order. So that's why you see the descriptions is the name, etc. But the good thing is it brought the data into our spreadsheet. And all of these thanks to the AI assistant. We basically didn't do anything else except prompting it and giving it the right input. Ayo?
Right. This is great. Then I think what we can then do now is, we can then as humans actually now set everything properly and make sure again, you can't trust too much, what comes from the AI. You can't just take it directly. We oftentimes advise that you look through the response, review it yourself, make sure it's actually right and it's what you're expecting. And think about it as just giving you something to actually build on. As much as possible. So yeah, you might just want just give the right fix and then we can try it again.
Yeah, this is the same as you were saying on accountability in the responsible AI policy. At the end of the day, you are accountable for what your job is doing. The assistant is just there to help you debug and go faster in writing your code and learning how to use OpenFunction. All right, I think that ends the demo. Now up to you.
Yeah, great. So I think have you fixed it? We might just want to fix the actual code. And
the order. All right, yeah, great.
So I'm just going to share a link that you can also use to participate. You can just submit a dummy response, and then we can see how this. So you can just, Elias, if you don't mind, open the spreadsheet, and then we can see how responses just get into that spreadsheet. Again, being powered by the OpenFn. So just wait, folks, for a minute, and then we can just do this for next, say, 4 minutes.
So Ayo, what do you want me to open?
So you can, if you have the workflow, your job code, finalized, and then we can just have everything in.
Yeah, I'm just gonna type it quickly so that it's gonna be faster than requesting the AI assistant here. What we need here is description.
Description should be second on the second field.
I think it's the third one.
So you've got the script.
Then we have the
reports formats. And then you have the name of complainant, the name of recorder, and stakeholder responsible. That makes it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields.
Yep. Which one comes after repo? Name recorder?
Name of complainant. Then you've got name of recorder and stakeholder responsible.
Next. Great. And I'm gonna hit enter here. Command enter. It's gonna append, as the function say, another row, but chances are now it appends.
Fantastic.
The right one. Yeah.
Got something for working. Yeah. So everyone, just a little bit of for us to see how our AI enabled workflow works. You can actually use the link that I've just pasted in the chat to actually submit. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So just
so I'm going to share the spreadsheet so that when you submit, we see it writing live and direct here.
Sorry, Stuart. Don't get your homework. That's such a sad one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So this is a very simple use case of how you can connect any application or any 2 different applications or automate workflow around your work using function. Thank you very much, Elias. I think we can just move on to the next side of our demo.
Thank you.
Yes. So whilst we're demoing, Mamadou has a question around where this is available, if it's only available on on this on for OpenFn cloud, or it's available for several state environments as well. What's your answer there?
Yeah, great question, Mamadou. It's available in the open source version. You can configure the AI assistant, and I'm going to give the answer. It's going to answer also on the LLM. So basically, how this works is we're using Claude Sonnet behind the scene, but you could basically extend it to any other LLM you want to use. We have an AI server called Apollo in our repository, which is also open source, publicly available. So basically, when you boot Lightning in your computer, you need to give it two environment variables. One is your LLM API key, and then which gonna be the Anthropic API key, and also the URL to where you deployed the Apollo. Apollo being that server that we have as open source in our GitHub. So you have to deploy Apollo whether locally or in a server. So you give it the URL to Apollo and you give it the key to your LLM, and then everything should work as exactly you see it in the demo.
Great, thank you. Just a few things to note. Again, AI makes mistakes. Please reveal all answers. We can't say that enough. Whilst we do all our best to make sure that we're training it, we're, providing inputs and providing prompts guardrails, there are times when it would make mistake. So please always review the answers that you get. If you get an answer that you think can be better, doesn't have to be wrong, can be verbose, can have bad formatting, it can be too broad, it might be unclear, confusing. Please always flag it. That helps us to be able to know what to improve and how to actually improve. The AI is not able to see your data clips. So both your input data and your output data is not visible. And also, it cannot read your logs. So if you need it to actually get that information, for now, you have to copy it and paste. In the future, we part of the iterations that we're thinking is actually you will be able to specify when you want the AI assistant to be able to read either your inputs, your data clips, or you want to be able to read your logs. But then again, it's always very essential whenever you're sharing such information, make sure you're not sharing personally identifiable information or any sensitive business data as much as possible. Then again, every chat that you have is scoped at a step level. So all the work that is done or the queries that Elias made earlier is at the add rows to sheets level. When you create a new step, right, you would have to start from beginning, but you can always if you want to see those job code, you always go back to that step and you'll be able to see that. And if you delete a step, you will not be able to see the chat history, the AI assistant chat history for that step. If you have any feature requests or comments, you please just use the feature request category on community.openfn.org to request improvements or new features as you may actually desire. Now, in terms of pricing, so if you are on OpenFn Cloud, that's actually the cloud hosted OpenFn, you will be able to access about 500,000 tokens per month, right? If you're on a free plan, and that's on an average it's about 50 plus queries, every month. And if you're on the core plan, you have about 1.5 million tokens per month, and if you're on scale, you have up to 10 million tokens per month. Right now, we do not have support for buying extra tokens, but in the future, if there's a need for us to be able to add that, we're definitely able to add that. And your tokens is being allocated per project, so it's not per user. So if you have five projects, each of those projects will have token allocations, not to you as a user directly. Then yeah, so just back to Mamadu's question earlier, how do you get started? You can scan the barcode on the left and you can actually get started in 2 minutes, right? You create an OpenFn account, you can create a workflow, and you can start using the assistant to actually build your first workflow. If you have any issues, you can reach out to us on community.openfn.org, and somebody from the team will be able to reach out to you as soon as possible. And then secondly, if you want to host this privately, you can go to our repo, and there's a lot of information on how to get started there. You then need to also provide your own AI key, which is actually in this case Cloud Sonnet key, developer key, for you to actually be able to use it. Thank you very much. I'll take questions. We have a few more minutes, and we'll just take questions. Yes, there's a question from Alpha. Alpha was asking, if this is made, made by Java. I know that that's directly for you because I know you are
We
you
don't support Java at OpenFunction. I don't know if that's bad to say though.
right, great.
That's a great question.
Yes, so it's all JavaScript actually. Great. Any questions, please? You feel free to speak if you have questions. If you have thoughts or suggestions, or something you think we should do better, in terms of like this feature or what you'd like to see, please just let us know.
Yeah, just on that question on Java though, I wanna add that the Apollo server is if you wanna extend this in whatever you're interested in the community, it's using Python. So if you're an AI engineer or you won't be really having to change your models into JavaScript or all of that. So Apollo is working. You can add your services in Python and all of that.
Great. Thank you. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. This has been a very fantastic time. I think there's a question. Is that a question? Right. So I think just to answer the question, about OpenFn and its N8, and its N. So both are workflow automation platforms, right? Both of them are open source. A major difference in OpenFunction and N10 is the fact that OpenFunction is a digital public good, and we have connectors and integrations directly with most software and tools that are used within the social impact space. So from tools like Kobo, DHIS2, so the CTO, Salesforce, any of the general tools that you have and is being used by governments, and organization in the non-profit humanitarian space around the world, OpenFN is better suited to support these use cases, right? Compared to tools like N10, where you then have to build a custom integration, or like you have to leverage direct API or point-to-point integrations for for you to connect to it. And then also a big part of our work as well is we think first about impact, and we've spent the last 20 years collectively and more across the team in this space, so we understand the needs of folks within the non-profit social impact humanitarian space, and we're able to directly build solutions, right, that meets their need. We also spend a lot of our time talking to like folks in government to understand these use cases, so we are able to again tailor our solution to better allow for adoption, easier adoption, and growth for organizations that are working in this space. Does that make sense to you?
Definitely, thank you very much. I think I need a more, a better, more longer demo.
Right, that's fine.
Next time.
I'll just give you my email. Ayodele at OpenFn.org. Or if you go in the community, just right, and you sign up, I'll definitely just send you a direct message there, or you can send me an email. Ayodele at OpenFn.org. Great, thank you. Do we have any questions? All right, just one last.
Bernice, there's Bernice raising his hand.
All right, hi Bernice.
Yes, hello. Please, I have a question about if you want to run a particular how will I even call it, a job. Yes, I've been trying it for a while now, but then the one button is not functioning. It's disabled, so I don't really know how to run.
Right. If you want to share your screen, I think I know what the problem is.
Okay.
Yeah. So for you to be able to run your job, you need an input. And so when you see, for instance, state.data, I need to stop sharing my screen. So you need an input. So what you're saying here is create a new work order is disabled for you, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. So this is how it works. Elias, can you just help like a dummy curly brace in the input tab?
Yeah, sure. So this is the input tab. You make sure it's activated, and either you select an existing input or you can create a new input. Either you paste here some JSON or you just do this opening and closing curly brackets. And then you see directly here it takes the
your screen is frozen. Okay, yeah, you have today, right? Okay, fantastic.
yeah. Oh, it's frozen. Sorry. Can't you guys see my screen?
We can see your screen now. It's working now.
Okay.
Elias, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Are you sharing your screen now?
I'm sharing my screen, but I see
Okay.
that it's stuck somewhere. Let me share again. Can you guys see it now?
Great. Yes.
All right. So you just need to paste this opening and closing curly bracket here, and then
Can
you get your button there.
Can you show us what it looks like when you don't have it?
Yeah. So if you don't have it, I mean, you have the button that's disabled here.
Dennis,
Okay.
is that
So,
what the problem is?
Yes, but I already have an input that I want to use, but when you click on the drop down, it doesn't show.
Yeah, so you would only see a data there if you've had previous runs on this actual step. So Elias, can you try to, maybe try a new job? Yeah. And then we can sort of like just help Bernice with that. So
Yeah.
when you look at it, there's nothing there, right? Hi, Bernice.
Yes.
Great, fantastic. So if we then proceed to have like curly braces or some dummy JSON data and we run, yeah. Great. You see what I mean? And then now you can see that you have 66B0B233 there at the top.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I think I get it.
Fantastic. Sorry for the worry. Yeah, again, if you have any challenge running your workflow, please just go to community.openfn.org. You'd get help there. Great. Thank you. Do we have any other questions, please? Yeah, in the absence of any question, thank you very much, everyone. This has been a very, very amazing time. And we hope that we see you around and we see you in the community. Thank you so much for taking your 1 hour to join us. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye.